to the What Bitcoin Did podcast.
Hi there from Chicago. How are you all? Welcome to the What Bitcoin Did podcast, brought to you by Kraken, the best place to buy, sell, and trade digital currencies. I'm your host, Peter McCormack, and today I've got a different type of show. I've got Pomp on, but it's a different show. So before you start listening, you just need to know we recorded over 2 hours, like nearly 2.5 hours of a show, and we made a decision that we're going to split it into half of it's going on here, half on mine. So if you want to listen to the first half of the show, you need to head over to Pomp's podcast, which is Off the Chain. Go and check that out, and then come back and listen to the second half here. And now let me tell you about my amazing sponsors. So first up, let's talk about BlockFi and their new announcement. They have launched crypto interest accounts, which has definitely sparked some conversations. A bunch of people have reached out to me with questions they have about this. I have passed these on to the team, and they are going to feedback on this soon. But I did catch up with Zach in New York to ask him a few things about it. So let's hear what he has to say. So Zach, you've got a new announcement.
A very exciting announcement, yeah.
What do you got to tell us?
So we're launching the BlockFi interest account, which is the first time ever that clients of BlockFi can earn compound interest on their Bitcoin paid in Bitcoin.
Is it like a bank account?
It is designed like a savings account at a bank, where you earn interest every month, and then after you've earned that interest, you earn more interest on that interest, except we're doing it with Bitcoin.
And what are the main features of the account?
So we're starting with a 6% annual yield. Like I said, it's paid out monthly, so that equates to a 6.2% effective return on the year. Assets are custodied with Gemini, and we generate the return by lending the Bitcoin to institutional investors who are borrowing it secured by dollars. So it's a similarly low risk type of lending to what we're doing on the USD loan side of things.
That sounds amazing. How do people find out more about it?
Go to blockfi.com. We've updated the website. You can get onboarded very easily in just minutes and read all about it on the website and our blog. And don't hesitate to contact our support team as well if you have any questions.
Let's also talk about the mighty Cash App. They've been sponsoring the show for a few weeks now. Come on, have you downloaded it? Have you got the Cash App yet? I have. It is amazing. I am a fan. I absolutely love it. I am using it. Are you? Have you got it? Come on. You should definitely go and download the Cash App. So why? What's so great about it? Well, the Cash App is the first traditional peer-to-peer payments app that supports Bitcoin. It comes with most of the features of a traditional bank account. It's got the ability to direct deposit your paycheck into the app. You get a physical customizable debit card, which is linked to spend from, and you have the ability to earn 10% back at places like Whole Foods with your cash boost. And this can be used in tandem with your Bitcoin balance. There isn't an app out there like it, so you better go and download it. It's available on the Apple and the Google Play Store. Just download by searching for Cash App, which is CASHAPP. But just a note, the Bitcoin buying is only available in the US right now. Just a few announcements. I'm in Chicago right now. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who took me out last night. Thank you for your hospitality. That was amazing. Chicago is very cool. Can't wait to come back here again soon. I'm heading to Boston tomorrow for the MIT Blockchain Expo. The lineup for that is utterly insane. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go and check it out. I'm going to be recording a few interviews. Got a couple lined up for my Lightning Month, which is super cool. I'm then going to be heading out to Hong Kong, where I'm emceeing the Token 49 event, which is really exciting. My first time doing this. Make sure you come and say hello if you're out there. And then I'm off to LA, Denver, Austin, and maybe Nashville, because I've got a whole bunch of interviews I want to record before I head back to New York and home. So onto the interview with Pomp. And really, this show was just a bit of fun. We've both got podcasts. We've been trying to get together for some time. And when we finally agreed to do it, we said, come on, let's do it. Let's just have a fun chat. Let's talk about some stuff. Let's talk about podcasting. I know he gets a lot of people ask him, and I get a lot of people ask me about it. So we just thought it'd be good to get together and talk about this. And we also played a little game through it. We had this thing whereby if you said Bitcoin or crypto, you get a $10 fine. I lost 5-3. I ended up owing him $20 at the end. So yeah, we just talk about a bunch of stuff, not really to do with the industry. You know, that's what we talk to other people about. You know, our things podcasting. So we mainly talked about that. And as I said, the first half is available on Pomp's show. So if you're here now, you want to listen to the first half, go and check out his podcast, which is Off the Chain. And if you're enjoying these shows and you want to support it, there's a section on my website that explains everything you can do. Just head over to whatbitcoindid.com and click on the support section. And if you've got any questions about this interview, you want to reach out to me, my email address is hello@whatbitcoindid.com. So come on, tell me your marketing stuff. Like, I know some of it. Let's get to the bottom of the...
So here's the best thing.
What's the truth of it?
Wait, so hold on. Let me give you context.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to tell you, I have an entire perspective that most people don't understand that I think is actually doing us all a disservice, right? I come from building and running growth teams.
Yeah.
Our job is, as those teams, is to use data to grow whatever the product is. So if we're trying to get people to sign up for something, how do we get more people to sign up? If we're trying to get more people to engage with something, how do you do that, et cetera? And you can break, quote unquote, growth down into very specific kind of buckets, if you will, right? So when I'm working at Facebook, for example, we need to go and we need to acquire new users, right? We need to retain the users that we acquire. Then there's going to be some sort of churn, right? And then we need to resurrect the users who left, get them to come back, right? So that would be a formula for, okay, today you're going to work on acquisition. Today you're going to work on retention, whatever. So I look at Twitter very, very similarly. And Twitter is a piece of a funnel for a much larger plan, right? So one of the things that when we first started thinking about doing Morgan Creek Digital, my whole premise for asset management is the best way to build an asset management firm today is to build a media company that actually monetizes through asset management, which is backwards.
Okay.
Most asset management firms, what they do is they go raise a bunch of money, say our job is to invest money, and then they take that money and they're like, oh, we probably should let people know what we're doing. And the marketing and sales and all that is an afterthought, right? And they spend a lot of money. Like people on Wall Street will spend millions of dollars to do all kinds of crazy stuff that doesn't work, right? I've always thought about it the other way. And it goes back to this idea. I tweeted the other day, and I think I've heard other people say it too, so I don't actually know whoever came up with this sentence, but I didn't come up with it, is he who controls the meme controls the message. So if you think of today, right, in today's world, the shareable content, whoever controls the meme controls the message or the narrative. So Twitter, huge distribution channel. And so I literally, in 2016, I think, I had like 2,000 followers. My girlfriend had more followers than me, right? She's a reporter and had more followers than me. And she'll never let me forget that, right? And I remember saying, how the heck do these people build these huge audiences? And I went and I looked and I searched around and did all this stuff and everything. And what I found was a bunch of people who said the best way to create an audience is to overly engage with everybody. And it'll bring it back.
Talk to them all day long, right?
Just build a community, right? And so I remember looking through all that stuff and everything, and I literally sat for hours. People, I've got a friend. The running joke among all my friends is like, this dude's job is Twitter, right? It's basically because every time they're with me, I'm always checking in, I'm doing all this stuff and everything. And when they stop joking around and give me a hard time, and they start getting serious, they're like, "Look, what you've built took hours a day, every day." For multiple years at this point. What was I doing in the beginning? I would literally go and I would go follow people. It would take me every morning I'd wake up and I'd go follow like 600 people. And then I would go through and I would like 3 or 4 of their tweets. And then I would respond to 2 or 3 of them, right? And why would I go do that? So let's say that you're one of those people. All of a sudden you see your notifications. You see that somebody liked your content, they engaged with it, and they followed you. What do? The first thing you do is you go back and you look, who the hell is this person, right? That is top of the funnel acquisition for eyeballs. Now, where I think that the thought process of the divergence of all of this stuff about, bots and content and following and all this stuff is, I believe that people will, when they get to that page and they look at that content, they will say, do I think this person is interesting? Do I think this content is interesting? Do I want to see more of it? If they think that 1, 2, 3 of those things are true, they'll follow you and they'll engage with your content. If they don't, they'll just be like, who's this weirdo? Right? And they just won't follow back. Yeah. Now, there's a second kind of off component to it, which is if they come back and they follow you, engage with your content, they also may at some point in the future be like, you're an idiot. Right? So don't stay around. And so what I focus on is net new followers or net new engagement. And so if you think of like a chart, if I get 10 people to follow me today and then 12 leave tomorrow, I'll actually lose followers over time, right? Because it's a net negative of 2. But if I can get 10 people to engage and follow today and 4 of them leave in the future, that's net new 6. And so if you look at my Twitter account specifically, pretty large numbers in terms of the number of people, but the engagement is off the charts compared to people who have millions of followers. Like I will get much more engagement than some of these people who have millions of followers. And the reason is the authenticity, the engagement. They know if they tweet at me, I'm going to tweet back. I'm going to engage with their content. I'm going to respond. I'm going to own mistakes I make, all this stuff. And so the part that I think is funny is you only have to do that for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get the flywheel going, right? You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I no longer have to go and seek people out to follow them, like their content, engage with their content. It's all now there's the community. And you may join the community, may leave the community, right? But like that one person isn't as important as it was when I had 2,000 people.
Yeah.
Right. And so like that sounds like very, this is a machine. You were very intentional, like all this stuff. I did it because I enjoyed it. Yeah. Right. And I thought it was going to be important in the long game and all this stuff. But like, I absolutely, like, you don't back into accidentally having 190,000 followers by, I woke up this morning and like just sent some random tweet and it went viral. Now I got 190,000 followers. It takes time. It takes effort, all this stuff. Right.
Well, so the follow unfollow thing never bothered me. I've not done it, but it doesn't bother me because I'm like, I don't think what people understand. This is a free marketing tool. It's got an opportunity. Like,
that's all it is.
See, we have a real problem where people like want to hate marketing, and and they want to hate you making money. It's one of the reasons I did the whole transparency thing, because I'm going to say, like, this is how it worked. This is why I'm doing it.
I started at zero, right? Like that's what I love about it. You're like, I started at zero and I built this, and you guys have been with me the whole time.
Yeah, I started at 0 followers, 0 listeners, 0 income, 0, like everything. Every single metric started at 0, and this is kind of the journey to what I've done. Yeah, but there are different tactics in there,
of course,
that work. And one of them, to say I've not done follow unfollow, but I've certainly followed people and tried to engage with them, get a conversation going because of I either want them on the podcast or I want to create that engagement.
Yep.
People. So I get why some people might have a problem with it. I always say, is that person net negative or net positive? And are you doing a net?
Oh, you're being way too kind to me. I'm even more ruthless myself. Right. Here's what I say. I actually would be upset if people didn't get mad about it. But what I argue is, if you are upset about that is a tool that is provided, right? To engage with people, to like their content, to follow them, to do all these things. You do not have to participate, right? And the market, in similar vein to you, will decide whether this content is valuable or not, right? And so part of what I really focus on is if I had put in, at this point we're going on literally almost 3 years of doing this, right? And so people ask me all the time, or here's a great anecdote for you. When Chris Berninski was doing all this crazy, like, I don't even know where this came from. Like, actually, I've never even talked to the guy before. And
you had a little shindig, didn't you?
Oh, he was going crazy because he accused me of when I tweeted about Kroger, it got so much engagement that he was like, that engagement is fake. And I was like, look, you can accuse me of a lot of things, and I'll own up to pretty much everything. But you can't engage. You can't claim that these people are fake, right? Because then, of course, everyone's like, I'm not a bot. They're all tweeting it. But what was funny out of this was you would be shocked at who and how many people that are well known in this industry were immediately in my DMs saying, teach me how to do this. Right? It's kind of like when the podcast starts to be successful, everyone's like, hey, I want to start a podcast.
As soon as you put out a $30,000 a month, people want to know how to do it, right?
Oh my God. People were like, listen, and here's what I told every single one of them. I said, look, I can tell you exactly what to do. But the thing that is going to be the big question is whether you're willing to put in the work to actually create this.
Oh, look what I just wrote down. Hard work. And if you want to watch a podcast. So literally the next things I was going to say to you, like, because I was going to see how hard you work. I was chatting to the guy from Blockworks last night. He was like, I'll get an email from Pomp at 4:30 in the morning. So how hard are you working? I know how hard I'm working. How hard are you working?
Look, hard work to me is always a sensitive subject because when I was younger, I was in the Army, right? I played football in college. Like, I had American football, right? So
I'm totally into it now.
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing: is that culture of both of those communities is you don't need sleep, just literally time is a proxy for how hard you're working, and you can literally spend more time doing something than somebody else, and therefore you outwork them, and therefore you should be more successful. That is like pretty core beliefs in both of those communities. As I've gotten older, I've actually spent more time understanding, thinking about the benefits of sleep, right? So that's one thing is the number of hours I sleep today is actually much more than I used to. I used to literally operate off like 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Right. And when I first met my girlfriend, actually, she said something to me about like, why aren't you sleeping? And I jokingly was like, oh, wolves don't sleep. Just being an asshole, right? Like, just giving her a hard time, whatever. But like, that was generally the mentality. Now I'm like, oh man, I can feel the difference between 6 hours and 8 hours, right? And how do I get to sleep? But the difference is I've tried to become more efficient with my time. The problem becomes there's still all the work that needs to get done. And so what I've done is try to design my life. I wake up at 4:30, 4:45 every morning. Not because of any other reason than I know between that time and 8 a.m., nobody else is up.
Exactly.
No one's bothering me.
That's when you get the most work done.
I work out, I write, I do all these things that I know if I don't get them done in that period, right? I basically got like, let's call it 3.5 hours. If I don't get the stuff done in that 3.5 hours, it's not getting done today.
So what do you say the magic sauce is then? Like if somebody wanted to launch a podcast, like what are the things they've got to absolutely nail?
We may disagree on this actually. I'd love to hear your opinion. I think just start.
Well, yeah, that's what I always say. That's like my first thing. Just start. But like once you've started. So let's get over, you've got to start.
No, but this is important. So there's somebody, I won't name them because I don't know if they'd be comfortable with me naming it, but they called me one day and they said, hey, it looks like you try a lot of different things, right? And they tend to work, right? And I'm really interested in how do you start something and get it going? And I said to them, first of all, that's misleading because you actually don't ever see the things that I started or tried and didn't work, right? So you're kind of selection bias. But two, I said is the reason why it looks that way is because too many people want to do something and they spend time planning. And there's plenty of things that you should plan. Like you should probably plan if you're going to start a company, right? Like a lot of things around that. But a podcast is a perfect example. The best thing that you could do is literally go and just say to yourself, I'm starting today.
And you can do that.
Just go.
You can do that.
And it's going to suck.
Yeah.
Like your first one, you're probably embarrassed by. I actually want to take down some of my first ones, right?
You can't do that.
I have not taken them down, but I've wanted to, right? Because I've just said things I wouldn't have said. I've learned things. It's better now. Mm-hmm. If I didn't start then, I would have always said, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'll do it, whatever. And so I think that's that mental switch of today's the day. If you do it that day, you have an 80% more likely chance to actually having a podcast.
You're totally right. I mean, I told you about it before. I was in LA. I thought, right, I think I'm going to do a podcast. I messaged Rich. He told me the equipment I needed. I contacted Luke. I said, Luke, I'm in LA. You're here. I want to do a podcast. Do you want to do an interview? He said, yes. Ordered the stuff off Amazon. 3 days later, I was recording. And then I was committed, right? I fucked up early on, though. So I did my second interview, and then I didn't do one for like 3 weeks. And then I was like, no, I can't do this. And you felt yourself going to not doing them. Yeah,
pulled yourself back.
And then I was like, I'm never gonna miss a show. And I've never missed a show. I think I did one after the Mount Gox. I let a week slide because there were just too many shows coming out. Yep. But like, I never let one go. All right,
that's super smart. Wait, what would you say is the key to getting started?
Well, like the same as you. You just got to go.
Yeah. But okay, so you go. Now what's the next step?
Well, I think there's a lot of things I would say to people now, and like, because it's a very competitive space. There's a lot of podcasts now, and there are a lot more coming out.
Yep.
So I'm like, what's your incentive? Mine's a business. This is my life. This pays for my living. So that's my incentive. Are you doing it as a side gig, or it's really important to know that.
Yeah,
I'm not asking that to you. I mean to anyone wanting to start.
Oh, you're saying what their goal is.
Yeah, you've got to know what your goal is. Is it a side gig? Is it fun? Or is it like, for me, this is a business. Whenever I've sat down with somebody, and I'll show you afterwards, like my spreadsheets and my organization and like.
Did you start that way?
No, but as it started to grow, I realized there's an opportunity. Then my son came to live with me, full time, and
then you were like, hey, I got to take this seriously.
Yeah, I got to take this seriously. And then I lost all my money trading. And then I was like, oh, fuck, no, I really have to take this seriously. And I've always just kind of been disciplined like that. But I think I would say to people, if you've got to have what is the goal? Like, what's the goal with this? Mine is I want to earn an income that pays for my family. Mm-hmm. And everything's designed around that. So if it's a side gig, fine. And then what are you going to do that's different? like, what is your thing? I think my thing is that I wanted to have the best guests, and I've just focused hardcore on getting the best guests. Now it's harder. Now I'm like, how do I get different guests?
So this is a very interesting difference, and it's very subtle. We talk about it all the time in the asset management business. We talk about what the founders that we invest in, and Peter Thiel is probably the one who has articulated this idea the best. And I'm going to botch it up, so I apologize to him in advance. But basically, it's this idea that if you do something and you're just trying to be better at it than somebody else, one, it's really, really hard to just be better than everybody else. And then two is eventually a whole bunch of different things can happen where being better goes away, right? So like if you and I are just competing on like who can have a better podcast, what is better, right? How do you do that? It's difficult. Being different is more important than being better, right? And I think the way he articulates it is you have to do something that no one else can do, right? Like what's your special skill? What's your special angle? What's your thing that no one else is doing? Because the differentiation means you're the best at doing whatever is different.
It's funny you should say that. And I think my differentiations come out of luck, because I started this when I was rich.
Yeah.
through my,
you have an epic story. It's like my favorite thing that not only did it happen, you then publicly talked about it.
Well, we can come to that. But like, so I was loaded, traveling around the world, like on Blockfolio I was loaded, right? Traveling around the world, having a great time, start up the podcast. And then I've lose all the money, but I'm suddenly in a position where I'm on this full time. So if anyone wants to launch one, if they have a job that is a side gig, what they've got to understand is I get up at 6 a.m.
Yep.
I do 2 hours. I drop the kids off at school, do another 7 hours. I pick the kids up and I do another 4 hours before bed, like most days. And I'll work weekends as well. And, fit it around the kids and stuff. But like, this is all I'm doing. If you're at work all day, you've got a distraction. So I'm spending the day getting the guests. I'm pitching to advertisers. I'm preparing for, it's a business. I love it.
You are building a business.
Yeah.
And you have to put the work in.
Exactly.
Yep.
So like, that's one of the things I'm trying to make people aware of. Like, but like, here's all my knowledge. So I have a to-do list on Wunderlist for each time I launch a show. If someone wants to launch a podcast, I give them my to-do list.
That's amazing.
Here's the list. This is everything I do for a show. There's like 60 things. And, I share it all with them.
Scare them.
But I'm just saying, if you're going to do it, be prepared. It's hard work.
It's funny to hear you say this because, one of the things that I always try to gauge with founders. So this is, people have talked about this before. One of the key components that I look for in a founder is whether they'll quit or not, right? And that sounds so simple and so dumb, right? But when a founder's pitching a company day one, right? There's a couple of ways I look at this that what you're saying actually you fit right in the sweet spot of how you have to build something. So one is, what are their motives, right? If they're doing it to get rich, probably not a good sign. If they're doing it because they were doing something they loved and it happens to turn into a business, very interesting. But the other thing is, are they going to quit? And it's nearly impossible to know with certainty, are they going to quit or not, right? It's actually the only time you can know for certainty is the people who have quit time and time again at other things, right? You're like, it's like 99.9% you're going to quit when things get hard. But you don't even understand how hard what you're going to experience is. And if you knew, you probably wouldn't start, right?
Yeah.
And so like you get started, it's easy, you get a little bit of success, right? You feed on it, you can start building. And then at some point you hit the first roadblock. And that's really like, I like to see what was the first roadblock that a founder hit and how did they get by it? And if they, what I call like phoned a friend, and they did something that didn't require them to push through it, like they hit a wall and they just went a different direction or something, less exciting. If they hit the wall and they push through it through either effort or intelligence or whatever it is, very interesting because you know that the next wall that comes, if it's bigger, it's thicker, it doesn't matter. They're going to figure it out, right? Like you know that they're not going to quit. And have you ever seen the visual where there's two tunnels on top? It's a cartoon, right? And there's a tunnel on the top and a tunnel on the bottom. And there's a guy, like a cartoon character, with an axe in both of them. And one of them is the guy who he's about halfway through the tunnel and he's picking away, trying to get through the tunnel. And the other guy is literally 99% of the way through and there's a very small piece of the wall left, and he's turned around, he's got the axe on his shoulder, and he's walking away. And the whole imagery is like, you never know how close you are to breaking through.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how I think about entrepreneurship, building things, etc. Is there was probably, and you should tell us, an episode where like it took off or you got some traction. And that was the enough light where you knew if you launched 3 more and they didn't get enough traction, you could keep going.
Yeah.
Right. And that's important.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think the point for me is when it's not so much a guest.
Okay.
When I got my first sponsor.
Okay. Interesting. Explain this more.
Well, because it was somebody saying, I respect you enough and like what you're doing enough that I want to give you money to talk about my company. And I was like, I mean, obviously that was a goal I always wanted to get there, but I didn't get my first sponsor for like 10 months.
Wow.
So I started in the November of 17, and I think it was August. So what's that? No, December. Say 8 or 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't much money as well. But it's like, somebody wants to pay me. And then I was like, you'll pay me based on a CPM, and my CPM's growing. So I looked at this, I said, well, if I can continue to grow this, and people continue to like it, I can see the trajectory of what this is going to do. So I think it was more, that was the point. And then there's kind of this kind of period where you start to feel like you kind of, it's really weird because I don't want to sound like, it's really humbling to do this because I'm from like a little town in Bedford, mate. I like a little town called Bedford in England. You know, not much goes on. I'm not from New York. I'm not from San Fran. And, you know, and I fell into this, you know, and then suddenly I've got people like paying for me to go to Hong Kong to MC a conference. I mean, it's insane.
Wild.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know how this is happening. And then, you know, people are spending good money on my podcast. And then people get it, like the most humbling things. One's like someone will email you and say, look, I've listened to every episode. I really appreciate what you've done. Thank you so much. It's like, it's really humbling. But I would say the last 3 or 4 months have felt like, wow, this is really serious now. Like before it was like, this is good. But the last 3 or 4 months have felt like this is really serious. And it's something I need to appreciate and protect. Like, because if I fuck it up,
well, you'll lose trust.
Yeah.
And you feel like you did a disservice to the audience.
Well, yeah. And so that's one of the reasons, like, like I always share my opinions quite, like, honestly, like this is
I don't think you and I have any problem sharing our opinions.
Yeah, but like, this is my view now, you know, and like even today's episode with Andreas, like, I've changed my view slightly. I've said, God, I'm going to see Pierre Rochard and he's going to crush me when he hears what I've said. But like, I have to be authentic about that. I have to be authentic about the advertisers I work with because this is, I've got to protect this because I think it's important for me. It's important for my family, but it's actually, I think it's kind of important for the wider community. I don't know, community is a weird word, but it's helping, right? Hopefully it's helping. It's bringing people in.
Well, so there's 2 ways to look at it. And do you look at yours as, or let me just ask, have you ever thought about you're actually documenting history?
No.
That's what scares me.
Well, actually,
so protecting the community is one piece, right? Because it's like if I deliver something that is bad product, wrong ideas, etc., I'll feel the blowback personally, right? People tweet at you, they'll get upset. You and I probably are at a point where we could, you know, it'll suck. We'll have to defend ourselves, and then you kind of move on, and you know, you may lose some people, but you'll be okay. The part that scares the hell out of me is take like the Murad episode. That either goes down as the most epic thing of all time and it told the future, or the dumbest thing in the world. Yeah. That people were like, people believed that, you know, this.
But that episode was epic.
But epic can be, it's like the first, when I got to Silicon
you can
Valley.
be wrong. I think you can
you think you can be wrong?
Yeah, I think people can look back and go, no, because it's like Chris Piniski, right? He's starting to get a lot of shit for his book. But he put himself out there and wrote it, and he tried to challenge, what are these things? You know, are they interesting? What are the models that can make it work? And I think that's really cool. You know, he put himself
I respect
there.
anybody who puts themselves out there.
He might be wrong. That Murad thing might be wrong, but like, you put yourself out there to say, this is what I think might happen. So I don't think that.
You're not worried about that.
No, but actually, when you said documenting history, no, I hadn't thought about it but I did recently, because when I did the Mount Gox series, one of the creditors wrote to me and said, I just want to thank you for doing this. This is the best, what did he put? He said, this is the most comprehensive source of information around Mount Gox that exists. And it hadn't crossed my mind. I assumed all this information existed one place or another. And afterwards, it was all out there. And then someone's saying this is the best source. And I was like, wow, okay, thank you. And I feel a huge sense of responsibility for that. And actually, I kind of wish I could go and do it again and do a better job because I hadn't thought about it like that.
What's one thing that you would have done differently now while recording that? Because it's a 7-part series?
Six.
Okay,
I
six.
wanted 7. I wanted Peter Vicenis, but he didn't reply. What would I do differently? I never enjoy hindsight because I did what I thought was the best thing at the time. It would have been nice to have more time to prepare.
Okay.
Because it turned around, it came around really quickly. You know, it went from an interview in San Fran to Carpella saying I could interview and to going out to Japan to suddenly doing 6. And there's so much information to digest. I wasn't all knowing as much as I'd like to have been. So I would like to have had more time. I'd like my mic not to have broken halfway through the Jed interview, which was really annoying. But no, I don't think there's a huge amount I would change apart from. I'll tell you what I'll do going forward. The next time I do, and I'm going to do one of these. I'm going to do one on the Silk Road. Okay, I've got a close relationship with
that
Lynn.
That would be epic.
Yeah, so I want to get all the people together for that and a very honest group of interviews, and that might be more. That might be say 10. But I'm going to give myself a few months to plan this. I'm going to agree what I want it to be, how it to be positioned. Like, it's not a defense of Ross. It's here's the truth of what we know. Here are all the key players, and here's what they think. And I'm going to give myself time to prepare to do it in the right way.
You almost get to triangulate the truth that way, right?
Yes.
Because if you're one player in that, you have an opinion, you have perspective, you actually may have forgotten some things, etc. But when you get enough people around the table, you get a really clear picture of what happened.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is, like, I developed a lot of opinions during the Mt. Gox stuff, but there's no, like, definitive, here's the answer of Mt. Gox. And I could sit there and write my version based on it, but what does that mean? I think what's better is to say, here's a bunch of content, here's a bunch of information, some questions and answers. What can you digest to it, and what's your opinion? Here's mine, by the way, but what have you got from that? Rather than definitively telling us. So, for example, here's my views on Mark Carpellis and what happened with him. Here's my views on Jed. This is what I think of Brock Pierce. What do you think of him? And but almost as isolated little piece of information. Not here's my entire summary of the whole events and this is what happened, because I think that's a dangerous thing to do.
Yep. What do you want this to become for you? Like if you look 5 years from now and you say, I started this as a side project that was fun for me, and it grew into X, it accomplished what I wanted it to. What would that X be?
I would like to carry on interviewing. I really like interviewing people, but I want to go broader because I want to challenge myself and become better. So I would like this. I want this just to be what I do until I give up doing anything, because it's the kind of thing that I feel so blessed and fortunate, because it's not like a real job. It's hard work, but it's, you know, I turn up and I talk to you, and then I'm going to sit in an Uber and then troll you. Yeah, it's not a real job. Like, I'm so lucky. I've flown to New York City, one of the most amazing cities of the world. I'm in your office doing this. And that's my job. And then I'm going to Chicago, and I'm being taken out to dinner by somebody. And then I'm going to have dinner. I'm meeting up with Alex Gladstein. How amazing is that guy?
Oh, legend!
What a guy! And then I'm going to MIT in Boston, and I'm going to interview some people there. And then I'm flying to Hong Kong, and then I'm going to LA. Like, how unbelievably lucky is it to have? Like, I mean, it's not luck because I've worked hard, but like, I had a job when I was used to have a web design business, and we went to do some work for a pottery company in Stoke in England, and it was a factory where they make pottery. And this guy was on the factory line showing me what he did. Afterwards, I spoke to his manager, and I said, you know, tell me about that guy's job. And he said, he's for 20 years has done that job. He goes in and he puts the pots in the big oven, and then he takes them out. And I don't mean no disrespect to him. Like, this is not a criticism of him at all, but that's a tough job, and he's providing for his family day in, day out. I get to do so many amazing things. So I feel so fortunate, and I would just, if you offered me now, say the revenue I'm going to make this year is good, right? It's a solid revenue. If you said, I can guarantee you this for the next 20 years, and you're not going to fuck it up, I sign it on the dotted line now. Because I could fuck it up, and that's scary to me, because like, what am I going to do next? So if I could have the consistency of being able to just meet people, do interviews, and get them out there, I'm content.
So I have I've got a theory on this.
All right, go.
No, what you just said is the most interesting people are fascinated by meeting and talking with and learning from other interesting people.
Okay.
And the reason why you are interesting is because you've probably spent your whole life talking to a bunch of different interesting people, right? And so you are able to formulate different ideas. You get exposed to different topics, perspectives, etc. And actually part of you being interesting is the variety of experiences, the ability to go into different cultures, see them, talk to people, etc. And so if you think of, who are some of the most interesting people in the world? They're actually like journalists, right? They're people who we think are quote unquote famous, but a lot of the fame has just empowered their ability to have collisions with ideas, people, societies that they otherwise wouldn't have. And so like what you're doing is you're actually creating a bigger moat for yourself. You become more interesting every conversation you have. And it's harder for somebody else to catch you because you're literally iterating every time you interview somebody.
Yeah.
It's pretty fascinating.
Well, yeah, I guess, do you want to know the funny story? I guess my first ever job, when I was 15,
Okay.
I started a fanzine. Music magazine.
Oh, okay.
So I'm big into my heavy metal.
You literally have a Black Sabbath shirt on right now, which I respect so much. All right, go ahead.
Big into my heavy metal. Can't afford the CDs every week. Can't afford to go to every concert. So I started a fanzine. I was 15, interviewing bands. I used to type it up on my computer and go and print it in my friend's dad's estate agents. We used to go and print 200 copies and I'd sell it at concerts and give them away. So that used to get me into my concerts for free, and I got all my CDs for free from the record companies. And I interviewed some cool people. I did the first interview with a band. Do you know Korn?
Oh yeah, KORN.
Yeah. So I did the first interview with them.
Man, that is a throwback.
Well, I did their first.
I was a kid when that was popular.
Yeah, I did the first interview with them in the UK. The reason I did the first one is because they did their first show in the UK.
Yep.
And I got the first slot because it's a crap slot. But I did the first interview with them. I interviewed the drummer of Pantera. I interviewed Kerry King from Slayer. Like, I did some cool interviews, right?
You ever interview anybody from Limp Bizkit?
No, I missed that one.
Oh man, that was my guys. I don't know why. I just out of all of those, that was who.
Mine was a band called Biohazard, who are from Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, interesting. All right. So sorry.
So that was my first job, and I was 15 years old. I used to get the train to London, go to a concert, turn up with my little dictaphone.
That is amazing.
Do an interview. Take that interview back, type it up, and great. I only did 4 issues, right? And I loved it. And then what happens is I went to uni, and it just kind of collapsed. I didn't do it again. And it's essentially come full circle. And I've after 25 years, or 20 years, 25 years since I've done that, I've come back, and I'm doing essentially the same thing. And it's just a really kind of, it's almost like I feel like it's probably what I should have always done, but didn't for whatever reason.
So you're describing a story that I see in founders all the time, which is there are moments in your life where you can look back and you can see what you're doing today and what you're working on today, you've actually practiced over your life. And what I mean by that is those interviews, right? You practice interviewing. You had a web design company. You actually practiced the ability, branding. How do you get, naming? How do you get landing page, right? All of these little components. And when you take these components that had some success, great success, right? All these kind of different outcomes, and they all come together, you just hit it. It's right down the fairway, and it explodes. Yeah. And the best example of this is, do you know who Sam Zell is? Is his name sound familiar? He's a United States-based billionaire who is very well known for real estate.
Okay.
And I recently read a book that he wrote called "Am I Being Too Subtle?" So you and I probably would get along with Sam very well. In this book, what he talks about is in college, he basically finagled his way into a little bit of money doing odd jobs, whatever, and he bought a piece of real estate and saw, I buy this and then I get paid every month from the real estate. And that idea resonated with him. And then he worked in, he raised some money, did another one, etc. And he ends up growing very quickly this real estate empire kind of in his 20s. And at some point, and I don't know if it's late 20s, early 30s, whatever, he says, I need to diversify 50% of my assets into non-real estate. And so he ends up starting to invest in private businesses. And somehow along the way, he takes them public a couple of times. And so he gets familiar with the going public process. And the aha for him, or that culmination of the sweet spot, was when REITs came along. So the ability to take a real estate investment trust and bring it to the public market. And so it was the culmination of all the years he had spent buying and selling and transacting in real estate, and his ability to take these vehicles public, all culminate in building one of the very first large REITs. Well, Sam Zell, who was the kid from nowhere, type all this stuff, sold it for $40 billion to Blackstone.
Whoa.
And you're sitting there and you're thinking, and you're like, right time, right place, right product, right experience, right? And they all came together. And there's probably 10, 20, maybe 50 people on the planet who had those two very special skills and experiences that came together at that time, etc. And he pulled the trigger and he ended up being successful. You're telling me a bunch of details, very similar, right?
Yeah.
Had experience interviewing, had all this stuff. And it comes together. And when, it's like football. Like when the hole opens up, you just got to run through it, right? And you shouldn't be apologetic for doing it.
Next up, I talked to Pomp about a whole bunch of other things, such as marketing and our favorite restaurants. But before that, I've got a message from my show sponsors. So, going to talk about Kraken again. You're going to hear a lot about these. I'm going to be talking about them for a long time. I've got a long-term sponsorship with them. I love the company. So I'm going to be telling you about everything they're up to, all their news, all their announcements, and my experience of using them, because I've signed up again. I'm a Kraken customer again. I got my KYC approved in like 2 hours, and I'm preparing to do my first Bitcoin sell with them, which is pretty cool. I'm going to feedback to you on what happened there, what I found with it, and why do I love Kraken? Well, I think for me, it's important the exchange that I use has size. I think with size, you get reassurances about security and procedures and how it runs itself. I think Jesse Power's absolutely amazing anyways. I couldn't think of anyone I would trust more. But Kraken are huge. Kraken are a huge exchange, and I trust them implicitly. They're also doubling down on their investments. They're doing so much about building out the team. I've been talking to them about this and what their plans are. For example, they bought Crypto Facilities. That's a $100 million investment. But most importantly, they're a proper Bitcoin company. And they are also the first exchange to allow you to buy spot and futures, which is pretty cool. So make sure you go and check out Kraken again. It's KRAKEN.com. And if you've got any questions, you can ask me. But I am a huge Kraken fan, and hopefully a bunch of you are too. Okay, and also let's talk about BlockFi. Let's talk about their new announcement. I did a little intro at the start. I let Zach speak and explain what's going on. That was cool. I've recorded a whole bunch of sound bites with him so I can share with you directly from Zach what's going on with this new product. And as I said, a bunch of people have reached out to me. We've got some questions around the product. I've passed these on to the team. I will share this back when I hear back from them. But let's talk about these interest accounts. Like, why should you care? Well, they're the only provider offering compound interest on crypto deposits structured similar to a high interest savings account. They offer the highest interest rate on Bitcoin and ETH on the market. Interest is earned in the deposit currency. So if you deposit Bitcoin, you're going to get Bitcoin back. There's no lock-in period for your deposit. So you want to get out, you can get out when you want. And client assets are custodied at Gemini, who recently announced digital asset insurance coverage and the completion of its SOC2 Type 1 security compliance review of exchange and custodian platform. So if you want to check this out, head over to blockfi.com, which is BLOCKFI.com. So what's the goal for you then?
So you're farther along than I am in thinking about a lot of this. I'll tell you something that I've never admitted to anybody outside of people very close to me. I'm actually very uncomfortable with a lot of this, and I'm still getting used to it. We were at the event last night for BlockFi, and somebody came up to me. And very similar, right? I've listened to everything. I've read everything. This is great. And just like the quintessential fanboy. I don't like that situation. Like I'm super.
You get uncomfortable, don't you? Yeah.
Just like I'm comfortable asking them questions, right? Like I actually just tell me about you, right? Like I'm good. And it's very interesting when you get put in that position to how you react, how you feel, all this stuff. And, I think that I'm getting over that a little bit, right? Like I'm very humbled by it. I try to kind of return the favor. So somebody thinks that I've helped them. I try to help them twice as much, right? To kind of like give back to them. And part of it is, what does that become?
I think once you start thinking like maybe you're different from somebody, that's when you start to lose.
Yeah. Like I actually don't care about the notoriety and all this stuff, and it goes back to like, what do you do that's different than everybody else, right? I'm self-aware almost to a fault. And I always say to myself, there's two things that I think I can do differently than everybody else. I mean, I'm better. I just don't think other people are doing this. And one is the ability to take super, super complex ideas in a very nascent space and to take those ideas and regurgitate them in a very simplistic way for a very specific audience, right? Nobody else is doing that. And if you do it correctly, I think that there's a lot of opportunity there. The second is I have these life experiences that allow me to use the digital tools that we've been given through Twitter and all these things to create massive distribution, right? And so there's definitely, when you put those two things together, there's nobody taking these super complex ideas, regurgitating them in a simplistic way, and then being able to distribute them in the way that I am. I hope that changes, right? So part of like what I've come to learn is when I was a kid, right, I wanted to be better than everybody else, and I actually wanted to stay better than everybody else forever, right? Okay. Like if you and I are competing, like I want to run faster than you, and I never want you to catch me, right? Okay. Right? As I've gotten older, I actually now look at it and say, we as a group need other people to run faster than us, right? Like how do we help a bunch of other people become from slower to the same speed to now go faster than us, because we'll actually benefit. And it's the restaurant problem, right? There's one restaurant on an intersection, they get some traffic. Most people think if a second restaurant shows up on the intersection, their business will be cannibalized. Actually, both businesses rise because now people think that's the restaurant corner, right? Then 3, then 4. And then you notice they're all grouped together. I think that's what we're doing, right?
Well, because
I want more people.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I will share your shows out. Like, I won't share everyone because that's pointless. But if one that really resonates with me,
half of them suck, so you only show the good ones.
Or no, they don't. They don't. But like, what it is you've got to be selective about the ones you want to listen to, because there's too many now, right? And also, actually, some suit different occasions. Like if I'm in LA, I'm going to San Fran, I'll never fly, because I'm like, if I've got to get to the airport and get through what's it called, TSA, and get to the other end, it's a 4 to 5 hour journey, right? Of stop, or I can get in a car, sitting there for 6 hours, and I can get something done. And I listen to podcasts, and I'm going to listen to Marty Bent for 6 hours because that's perfect, right? But if I go down the gym, I'm going to listen to you because there's a different scenario, right? But you got to.
I'm the gym and he's driving.
Yeah, because
I don't know if I like that or not.
No, that's good, because I tell you, it's just.
You know he's going to tweet at us and be like, "I'm the car, not the gym."
No, because Marty, I just want to relax. I'm separating myself from the world. I'm going to like sit here and just listen to two people have an amazing conversation. Just. And it's just like it's a relaxing one. Well, yours, they're high energy, like they're like question and answer and things that it's just a different scenario. Actually, usually when I'm in the gym, I might be listening to like Norma Jean or some metal, but it's different scenarios. But sorry, what I was getting at is there's different shows I listen to now, and I have to select, and I'll pick out the ones and I will share it out. But I think we're all stronger together. And it's like when people put out those polls, which is your favorite crypto podcast? I always want to say, but you can only have 4, and there's like there's all these other ones that you've forgotten about. There's like Laura often gets forgotten, and I'm like, you can't forget her. She was like one of the first.
She was probably one of the first.
Listen to her interview with Naval, or listen to her interview with the Winklevoss twins, or the one she just did with Rune about Maker Down.
Maker, yep.
I mean, she's brilliant, like absolutely.
She
brilliant.
has a skill that you and I don't have that she honed for years.
Yeah, she's
right. She is a journalist.
Yeah, well, I think and I guess we're more like entertainers, but like she's genuinely brilliant. So I think we're all stronger together, especially as media, because what we're doing is we're bringing new people in. So. Yeah, I think I don't even know where I'm going with this.
well, no, but what you're saying is it's fascinating that. We don't have a plan, right? You or I. And I bet you if we asked Laura, she had an idea and she had kind of a short-term plan, but she didn't know what it's going to turn into, right? Almost every founder doesn't know what it's going to be. That's the beauty of it, right? Is the ability to kind of course correct and make these small adjustments. And, hey, I did an interview. People really didn't like that type of topic, right? Let me go and kind of go back to what people really like. And you kind of refine it, and those iterations get a product that people love.
All right. So how much of it is what you're doing is designed for your audience, or how much of it is based around what you want to do?
So I take the position, I'm going to do what I want to do, and the people that like what I like are going to be attracted to it, and the people who don't can jog on, right?
I love that.
And not in a, like, I don't appreciate you, I don't want to be associated with you, but in a, the biggest reward I get from spending hours every week doing this, I learn.
Do you prep for your interviews?
I don't do any prep.
See, this is what I had a feeling you didn't, and that's insane, because let me show you this.
Okay,
right.
Let me see.
Right, this is
He just pulled out a computer.
right. So this is an example prep for, let's go, Andres.
He's showing me right now pages of notes.
So what I
prepping.
do, I create a structure of the things I want to do and the topics I want to get through. And it's funny, we haven't done it for this one, and I don't know if it matters actually. Maybe I could survive without it, maybe I couldn't. But I know, I can tell, you just sit down and you just go.
So here's what I'm scared of.
Yeah.
So let me clarify one thing. When they walk in the room, I do ask them, what do you want to talk about? That type of stuff. And I may jot down like, hey, here's 2 or 3 ideas or whatever, and I'll make sure I weave them in. But for the most part, I'm just, freewheeling. It's because it goes all back to this idea of authenticity. I don't want to ever feel like I'm walking in to do a job. And the day, I promise you, I will walk away from all of this the day that I feel like it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
And so what I've found is the people who are the most or are the most popular episodes, they walk in and they're literally asking me about anything. Mm-hmm. Nothing's out of bounds. I'm here. I'm basically going to just shoot the shit with you. Yeah. Right? Very similar to how we're doing. And the episodes explode. The people who walk in and you can tell like they have a PR team. They and they're doing like all this stuff. You can just tell that they want to say things and they don't. Right? Or you can tell that they've been coached, stay away from certain topics. And when I sense that, that's where I want to go. Right. Okay. Why do you not want to talk about this? What are you hiding something? Is it something that you're on, or you're sensitive to, and I want to go do that. If they trust you, they don't care. They're like, look, ask me about anything. I'll talk about my deepest, darkest secrets, and I'll talk about the greatest things in the world. The people who come in are very rigid. It's a different feel. It's not as fun, and episodes don't do well. And so for me, that's the whole key is just, let's go bullshit, right?
Look, Jim, my biggest fear is that I've run out of questions in an interview. Get like half an hour in, I've got nothing more to talk to you about. It kind of happened with Hester Peirce. That was a very tough interview.
Okay, explain.
Because a lot of it comes down to how much somebody talks. Mm-hmm. If somebody gives shorter answers, it's hard.
Yes, very hard.
And obviously she works for the SEC,
She's being super careful.
She's being super careful. She's toes the line. And I didn't have enough questions prepared and I didn't know where to take it. Once we got to like 45 minutes, we ended up doing a little personal stuff, but I didn't know where to take it afterwards. Uh-huh. With you, it's kind of easy because we can discuss anything, right? But with her, it's like very, very difficult. So that's always my fear. Like I've run out of things to say. That's why I do so much prep.
So I've actually never thought about that because I just end it. If I'm done, I'm done, right? Which is, I don't actually know now that I'm thinking about it if that's good or bad, right? Like, am I cheating people from a conversation where there's other questions and not? One thing I've started to do now is I'll live stream on Twitter and I'll stop the interview from the audio podcast recording. And many times I'll then say to the people, hey, 5 more minutes, send me they're right here.
Yeah, we can do that.
And people ask questions that I wouldn't have thought of, right? Or they find fascinating, whatever. And to me, it's just if you and I run out of things to talk about, let's shut up, right?
Well, this is my longest interview to date so far. Do you know what we've done? It's 2 hours now.
2 hours?
And we've not even touched aliens. And I really want to talk about aliens.
All right, let's talk about aliens.
It's like my favorite subject.
All right. At the 2 hour and 2 minute mark, we're going into aliens. So, there's still a lot of people watching.
I know. I wonder how many have stuck through it. And it's gone back and forth. Firstly, why do you have the alien question? It kind of gives me the feeling that you enjoy interviewing and you want to get out of just being industry.
So there's 2 reasons. One, I have a genuine interest. It's a thing where it's just so fascinating to me, right? Like I the idea that we are such a small part of the universe used to scare the shit out of me. Like the idea that you and I one day are not here. Whoa. Right? Like
we're so irrelevant.
Just super uncomfortable, makes me want to just go do crazy shit, right? But at the same time, what I figured out when I asked, I forget who the first person I asked was, and I asked the question because I genuinely was interested in their answer. What I found was it was the best way I knew. How does this person think?
Right. Okay.
What is the framework that they use to think through something that they are unprepared for or they haven't thought about? So like, finance and Wall Street firms are famous for asking things like, how many golf balls can you fit in a Boeing 747? And they want to hear, the person be like, in their vest with their pocket protectors, like, you could fit 4,732 golf balls into a Boeing 747 because, there's this many cubic square feet and this many balls fit in and they go through the whole thing, right? Yeah. I got it. That's super not cool to me because I just don't give a shit how many golf balls go in a Boeing 747. Mm-hmm. Aliens, though, actually really care what your answer is, but I also get to see how do you think. And so there's some people who come in and they're funny, right? And they say, oh, we're the pets, right? Or we're the aliens. Gives me a lot of insight to who they are. Mm. There's people who come in and immediately know some sort, there's some theory, like an academic theory that has been created that basically backs into the high probability of aliens existed. That's a very intelligent kind of structured answer. There's some people who come in and on the spot, on the fly are doing math. Right. And there's this many planets, and you can see they're very analytical. And so it's just a way to learn more about them with a very unassuming question. And they're so busy answering the question, they don't realize that I'm learning not just the answer, but other things about them. So
what's the answer? What's your answer then? Do aliens have pets?
Oh, to pets?
Have you answered it? I can't remember if you've answered
it. Yeah. I've definitely talked about it. So I'm at like as close to 100% confidence as you could get about aliens existing somewhere.
Oh yeah,
that's where I am.
Yeah,
right.
But it's like, what constitutes an alien? Is it just a life form?
That's the big question.
Are you talking about intelligent life, or are you talking about creatures? Because there can be organic life, mm-hmm. then there can be some kind of creature, and then there can be intelligent life. It's like
absolutely
right. So
I think that if there's one species, there's going to be multiple ones.
Yeah.
Right. So pets. Or not pets, there's just going to be multiple species, which is really what the point of that question is. But I'm going to surprise you with, I recently recorded an episode and I asked this question, and because now everyone comes prepared for the aliens, right? And so people literally say, hey, man, I want to come on and talk about aliens, not, hey, I want to come on and talk about other stuff. What do you think about the ocean? Are you more scared to go to the depths of the ocean or to go to space?
I'm not scared to go to space. I want to go to space.
Okay. So this is interesting because I'm the same way. I would much rather go to space than go to the depths of the ocean.
I'm not scared of either. I'm fascinated by both of them. I'm fascinated by the depth of the ocean because there's probably shit down there we still don't know exists.
Completely. Yeah, that's the fascination with space.
I always think of like The Abyss. Have you seen The Abyss?
No, what is that?
The film, The Abyss. Where,
oh, no, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you've got to see the film, The Abyss.
The Abyss.
You'll love it. Okay. But that fascinates me. But I'm not huge. I guess I'm more into space because it's so much more vast than the ocean, right? There's so much more out there. There's a really
Is it though? Like this? So this is why I asked the question. Completely agree. Space from a size perspective. What if we're actually underestimating the ocean and overestimating space in the sense that we will learn and discover more things in our lifetime in our own ocean than we will in space?
I just don't think. I think there's so much more out there in space because there's so many variety of things. Not just life forms. There are supposedly planets that are entirely made of diamond. I mean, how amazing is that?
That's wild.
That, I think, is really cool. There's actually a really good podcast called Ask a Spaceman.
Okay.
You should definitely check out. Paul Sutter. He explains really complex things in a really funny and interesting way. Like,
I love it.
Like relativity, right? And in a way that I never understood it before. But no, I'm like... The only thing I think about with like aliens and stuff, right, is if you do the math on the odds of it happening, the math says, billions of planets in our...
It's like a no-brainer.
Yeah. But then I'm like, if life forms created elsewhere, must it have the same... Must there be a thing called DNA? Must there be a thing called chromosomes? Or can it be entirely unique? Because things like chromosomes and DNA seem like... That's like some weird kind of design. How can DNA and chromosomes happen by chance? Mm-hmm. By like a hot mess bubbling at the bottom of the ocean. How can that exist? How can that come to be if it's not designed? And that always makes me think, all right, so there's this, you can be on another planet, another galaxy, bottom of their ocean, there's this primordial soup, like it's bubbling away. But how can that spark a DNA of exactly the same design? And does it need to be? Do you see why I get it?
Absolutely.
Because that's like a fluke.
What it begs the question is just how replicatable are the things that have happened in the evolution of the earth and humans, animals, etc. And there's two components to that. One is what is the actual DNA and kind of what has happened to us, and also what is the environment in which that has permeated. And my guess is that there is other quote unquote life or microorganism, whatever it is, it's in very different environments, right? So like I probably to a fault am difficult with a lot of people because I like to question the underlying assumption.
Yeah.
And so one of the assumptions in space is that we are looking for something that is similar to Earth.
Yeah.
Well, what if that's actually the wrong question? What if we're just looking for a different set of conditions that could also create? Like why is Earth the only thing that could create life?
Yeah. You may
I don't
have
know.
a life that doesn't need oxygen, right?
There's probably some scientist out there who's figured this out already, but like I don't know that.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's just there's so many different angles you could go. There's so many different ways you could go. And now like I've been thinking more like three-dimensional, like there's space and there's the ocean. And then I was telling somebody yesterday about the ocean question, and they were like, dude, you want to really like screw up your brain? What about volcanoes? The idea that like it's not the ocean, right? Which we think of, okay, I can just go in the water and okay, I get the idea. I just go to the bottom and I hit the crust of the earth. But this idea that like all of that stuff is in the earth and it boils up and explodes and it rips a hole in the earth and then there's lava everywhere. Like, whoa. And you start going down this thing and you're just like, the world is a big place. We don't know anything compared to what is actually all the knowledge out there, all the information. And like, we're just so lucky.
Oh, well, so somebody explained this thing to me once. They said, if you cannot calculate how lucky you are to be alive, right? You can't calculate that because if you try and do the math, you have to start at the point, right? Your parents met each other.
Yep.
And at that moment, there was one moment in time they conceived you, and any part of that moment of conceiving you might not have happened, right? Like
absolutely.
Like one variable changes. They said, but what about your parents' parents and their parents? And like all the coincidences that have to happen for that moment in time for you to be born.
Well, and then just that one event happened, all the different sperm count and all like, and you're the one who swam the fastest.
No, you go before that. What if the dinosaurs hadn't been killed by, maybe humans wouldn't have been existed because they've all been eaten. And then what if the moon like hadn't like crashed into the earth to create the moon or whatever? Like if you go back and calculate all the things that had to happen for you to exist, it's an impossible number. You always get close to infinity, right? Like it's impossible. Somebody explained that to me, and they said not only that, the universe is 13.8 billion years old, and it's your time right now.
It's crazy.
So you've got all these things, and so that person said to me, they said, I believe I'm always alive. I don't believe it's my 80 years within that 13.8 billion. I believe I'm always alive because I'm alive right now. Does that make sense?
It's wild.
And I was like trying to think about it, and then it just screwed my head up.
The one of the pieces of advice that as an investor, a lot of founders will call when things aren't going well. So I always joke and say when we haven't heard from companies, that's actually really scary because it's not going so well that they want to call and basically brag and make us proud of them. And they're also not calling because it's going horribly. So that means it's just going sideways.
Yeah.
Which is not like something's going wrong. But when you get the good calls, you're happy, right? And excited. And they usually don't need help at that point. But when they call when things are going wrong, I can usually split the problem into two things. One is things under their control, things not under their control. Things under their control are very kind of action-oriented. Let's come up with a plan. We got to go execute the plan, right? All that stuff. The things that are not under their control, the best piece of advice I've ever given them, where are you right now? They'll tell me. And I say, put your phone down. We're going to hang up. Put your phone down. And I want you to go for a walk outside for 30 minutes with no device. And just go for a walk. And come back and call me. It is the most fascinating thing. They come back. They're calmer. They're happier. They're just like they have changed in a way that, yes, maybe some of the device, some of it's all, it's the fact that they've had to go outside and just realize like there's more to this, right? Like you and I, like we're in an office, like, oh my God, we got to figure this out. And he's walking outside, like nothing else matters, right? And I definitely don't do it nearly as much as I should do it. But like that's the stuff that just fascinates me, right? It's literally just removing yourself from an environment, putting yourself in a new environment, and breaking a routine completely change your perspective.
Joe, I feel like robbed of this interview. Do you know why I feel robbed? Because normally you get to go, you can ask me one question. I've got to ask you loads. I didn't have to be diplomatic about that one question. I didn't get to go, what's that one question? What would it have been?
What would you ask me?
I don't know. I can't. I would have had to think about it. Where's the best pizza in New York?
Oh, man.
I'll tell you where the best burger is in New York.
Where?
Park Meridian Burger Joint. You ever been there?
I have not. I've heard that from a few different people. So here's a dirty secret. People get mad when I tell them this. Or let me ask you first. What's your favorite restaurant in the world?
Chotto Mate, London. Or
what is that?
It's like this is one I've been to most. Not my favorite. Sorry, it's a Peruvian, Japanese fusion. It's opposite Ronnie Scott's on Frith Street. So it's the same street. I get all my tattoos. Frith Street tattoo. So it's not my favorite actually. My favorite's Hakkasan in London in not in Mayfair, the other one. That's my favorite restaurant. But the one I go to most is Chotto Mate.
Peruvian? Okay.
Yeah.
So mine's McDonald's, and here's why. It's the most consistent experience. It's the most economical. And it satisfies two aspects of my life,
all right.
which is the food tastes good. It's not healthy, but it tastes good.
Yeah.
And every time I walk in there, I'm absolutely amazed that somebody built a business that is this global, this like well optimized, etc. And so I literally sit there and like eat some, unhealthy piece of food that I'm like, oh, this tastes great. And like, how epic is somebody built this?
You need In-N-Out here so you can get over McDonald's.
Oh man, this is super unpopular. I don't like In-N-Out.
What?
Look, I love Shake Shack. So like, there's the whole In-N-Out Shake Shack thing. But the In-N-Out burger is actually fine. I actually think it tastes pretty good. It's the fries.
I never get the fries though.
Okay, so the fries
because you can have more burger.
Oh, that's a good strategy. So maybe I would change my opinion on In-N-Out if I just didn't get the fries. The fries are just a little too papery for me.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay.
Whenever I go I never have fries because I'm always like, I'd rather another burger.
That's actually pretty smart.
But do you know what they also have? They do their Neapolitan shake.
Oh yeah,
that's good.
So that is they definitely get points for that on the menu.
Do you dip fries in shakes?
Not every time, but yeah. Used to as a kid all the time. People thought I was weird.
Yeah.
You want to know a question I asked somebody recently
right.
talking about dipping stuff? How long do you dip a Oreo in milk?
Oh, I don't.
Oh, you don't at all?
No, but we have it in the UK. It's tea.
Okay, wait. Explain this. I don't know
You dip biscuits in tea.
Okay, how long?
Well, it's tricky. You get it too long, it like collapses. It ruins it. The whole thing's gone.
This is why I asked the question.
But milk, you can go a long time because it's warm. It takes a lot longer.
It very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I get pissed if I drop a biscuit in tea. It's like ruin my fucking day. So like, it just gets it's in, it's out. The best one though, there's these biscuits from Australia called Tim Tams. Okay, they're like a biscuit wrapped in chocolate, and you bite the corner off one, bite the corner off the other, and you suck your teeth through it, and then you put it in your mouth, and the whole thing melts. It's fucking amazing.
What, a Tim Tam?
A Tim Tam. They're Australian biscuits.
I'll order it off Amazon.
But you didn't
I'm sure Amazon.
What's the best pizza in New York?
Oh, so the reason why I said this is, and this people are gonna get so pissed. I love Domino's.
Oh man, fuck this. Cody, what's the best? Cody, you can answer for him. What's the best pizza in New York?
Any dollar, just pizza in general, man. You can't really go wrong.
Yeah,
don't go too far up north, but
the like that's what I'm saying. Like the shitty places, are actually I enjoy them.
Yeah.
Like you have to remember, I grew up in a family with 5 boys. Like one of my best memories from childhood, my mom used to take us to McDonald's, and I think that they probably still do this. They used to have 50 bucket of chicken nuggets, 5 boys, 10 apiece. Get your sauce. She's sitting there like literally like we're like she's never fed us before. It's kind of animal. She's like, here's 10, here's 10, here's 10, and we're sitting there with our arms around, like eating quick, so nobody grabs it, whatever. And like that's just the stuff that like I remember like that was a delicacy in the sense of my parents were like, we're not going out to eat.
Yeah, but I think your food choices are
oh, they're horrible. They're horrible.
If you come to London, or when you come to London, I'm going to take you to Chotto Mate, and I'll take you to Hakkasan.
All right.
And we're not going to go anywhere near McDonald's at all. Last thing, I'm conscious of time. You're meant to be on another thing, aren't you?
No, you're good. This is the most important thing I'm doing all day.
Right. So last thing I want to find out about who are your sports teams.
My sports teams.
Yeah, give me like in every one. Every sport.
Oh man,
Like,
I'm a
who's
New
your
York Giants American football team. I am. They're good sometimes, they're bad sometimes, and everywhere in between.
Okay.
Just I love them. For basketball, probably unpopular. I'm a LeBron believer.
Okay.
So like, I actually don't like the Lakers at all.
Was he in?
But I want to cheer for LeBron. So he was in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Then went to Miami, back to Cleveland, now to LA. Here's why I like him.
Okay.
You're gonna love this.
Didn't he just set some record, like 2 records in one game, like score and passing record? I thought I heard about
I
it.
haven't been paying attention.
All right.
The reason why I like him is at 16 years old, he was put on the front cover of Sports Illustrated, big magazine, sports magazine in the U.S., and he is labeled the chosen one. Incredible pressure for a 16-year-old. This guy has not lived up to that hype, has probably surpassed it in terms of what people thought he could accomplish. He's played for 15 odd years. He's been married to his high school sweetheart the entire time. He's never had a scandal where he's cheated, committed a crime, been in trouble with the law, like any of that type of stuff. He's donated millions of dollars to charity, right? Done all this stuff. He's made what many people would consider bad decisions or in bad taste in terms of, he announced he was going to leave the team or, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But the amount of pressure that he was in or under as a young man to today, you and I can't even fathom.
But also,
and he's navigated the whole thing.
Did I hear right? A lot of basketball players don't have a long career. They're 3-4 years.
So football players, for sure. I don't know what the NBA average cycle is. The football is 3 years, 3 seasons.
So if you have a 10-year career, 15-year career, it's incredible, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So do you like hockey?
I would go with the Carolina Hurricanes only because the only real games I've ever been to are just in North Carolina.
Okay, and then what's
baseball?
Baseball, yeah.
New York Yankees.
Yankees, you're a Yankees fan.
Come on, they're the best team of all time, dynasty. I don't care if they don't win for 10 years; they're still the best team ever. And every Yankee fan will love that. We'll rub it in their face until somebody else wins. Was it 27, 28 World Championships?
Do you watch our football?
Huh?
Just the Premier League.
So I've started to get more into it. Actually,
you look like a Chelsea fan to me.
No, who's your team?
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
All right, I like.
We're fucking up right now.
Manchester United. Yeah,
that's a good.
I'm a little jaded because the people that got me into it, they're Manchester United fans. Enough. So like, you can't like. I'll be contrarian only to some degree.
So I'm getting into your sport. So like,
what are you for American football?
So as a kid, I was 49ers when we first got on the TV. It was Joe Montana, but then very quickly Steve Young, Jerry Rice, right? And they were just
legends.
That was the team, and I was like, that's cool. I've started to get into the Raiders. I just think it's school brand, and I think when they go to Vegas, it's going to be pretty cool. So
they're going to be in Vegas. They've got the whole like kind of hard rock, kind of mentality.
Well, me and the kids went, and it was brilliant. Like they're playing Metallica, like in between.
It's crazy,
yeah. And I was like, I'm in, I'm sold. I actually quite like the college football.
Okay,
yeah.
Who do you like for college football?
Don't really have a team, but I never forget the first game I watched. I was in Vegas. It was for my 30th. Texas plays Texas Tech. Crabtree last minute. Like it was like 49-47 last minute catch touchdown. I was just like,
oh, you got spoiled. You had a great experience.
But the game was incredible. And every time I watch college football, I'm just like, this is great. I'm not that into basketball. I find it quite boring. I probably pick the Celtics just because they're Irish and I'm half Irish. Hockey, I've been see. Who is it here in the city? New York.
Rangers.
I've been seeing a couple of times. Kind of cool. I haven't really picked a team actually, but baseball, I'm LA Dodgers.
Okay.
And I started to go a lot, see him a lot. I think it was season before last, and I ended up going to a playoff game. It was the one where Justin Turner hit a walk-off home run.
Crazy.
And I was like, "What just happened?" Like, because my whole experience with baseball was kind of calm. Like it's a bit like cricket. It never gets too crazy. Then he comes up, like literally last guy, walk-off home run. The whole thing ends, and the whole place just erupts. And like everyone's going wild, and I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm totally in. So.
The thing that's funny is like most sports, like football's pretty fast paced. Like towards the end of the game, right? It's like 2-minute drill, and they're kind of running up and doing stuff. Basketball obviously is back and forth, fast paced. Hockey, same thing. With baseball, it's very start and stop, right? And some of my best sports experience ever is like Yankee Stadium night game. The bleacher creatures are going wild.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're literally throwing stuff at, the opposing team, all kinds of crazy stuff. And somebody hits a home run and the place just goes bonkers, right? And you're just sitting there and you're like, this is an amazing experience. So that's pretty cool that you got to, not living in LA, but you got to be there when that happened and experience it.
It was insane. It was really special, actually. I've got to say, I did enjoy it. So
Peter's goal is to buy his local football team.
Yeah, Bedford Town. Yeah, Bedford Town. I nearly did it. So when I had all that money in Portfolio, I made an inquiry. I mean, they wouldn't cost a lot of money at all, but yeah.
Still, should we tell them the game we played?
Well, I owe you $20.
No. I have an idea for your $20, but should we tell them the game?
We're still yours to deal with.
No, hold on. Should we tell them about the game?
What's that?
So we went through this entire interview, 2 hours and 20 minutes, and our goal was to not talk about crypto, Bitcoin, blockchain, or anything one time. And we've actually been keeping track. And
you get a $10 fine each time.
You got a $10 fine every time either one of us mentioned it. And we only mentioned it 8 times in 2 hours and 25 minutes.
5 to me.
5 for him. 3.
You started bad.
I started bad. I was out 2-0 real quick. Caught my attention. So
Pomp, thank you. That was amazing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what did you make of that? Did you enjoy it? As I said, it was just a bit of fun. I actually bumped into Pomp the night before we did the interview. He was at the BlockFi event announcing the launch of their interest products. So I met him. He's not what I expected in person, actually. He's such a cool guy. And he gets a lot of haters and gets a lot of crap, but he does so much for the space. I'm a big fan of the guy. I really am. I really enjoyed doing it. I really enjoyed talking to him. It was so natural. Usually I prepare so much for interviews, and I didn't with Pomp. We just sat there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours actually, and just discussed things. And I really enjoyed it. So I'm sorry it's not like a normal show. If you didn't enjoy it, I'm really sorry. It was just a bit of fun for us to do. But if you did enjoy it, that's great. That's really cool. And if you've got any questions, you can reach out to me. It's hello@whatbitcoindid.com. If you want to launch a podcast, you want some ideas, give me a shout. I'm more than willing to help. And I do want to say a big thank you to everyone who supports the show. Whatever you do, from my sponsors to the people who leave reviews on iTunes, to those who share the show out on Twitter, it's all amazing. It's all really helpful. But if you do want to support the show, I'm going to quickly rattle through the things you can do, because I talk about this every show and it's probably getting really boring. Listen to the sponsors, because they are the people that make this happen. Also, you can become a patron if you don't want to listen to the sponsors. Head over to patreon.com/whatbitcoindid for $5. You can get the show early and without adverts, or you can subscribe by crypto. Drop me an email. I'll give you an address to send to, and I can add you to the distribution list. I also accept Lightning now, which is pretty cool. You can become a show sponsor. 150,000 downloads last month, which was a record. I think I might have a chance of doing it again in March based on the Andreas show alone, which is pretty cool. You can leave me a review on iTunes, or you can click on the subscribe button. You can follow me on social media. I'm at What Bitcoin Did everywhere. My personal Twitter is at Peter McCormack. You can check out my website, which is www.whatbitcoindid.com, where you can also sign up to my newsletter, and you can share the show out with your friends and family. All right, I'm off to the hockey now. I've been recommended to go and see the Blackhawks. I'm off to do that. I'm off with Justin Moon, which should be a lot of fun. And then tomorrow I'm off to Boston. So yeah, I'll see you all soon. If you've got any questions, feel free to email me. My email address is hello@whatbitcoindid.com.